You track your expenses and have an idea of how to create a budget, but many budgets fail because they're unrealistic or too rigid. Here's the important question: how can you create a budget that is both effective and flexible enough to stick to? Welcome back. My name is Rohit Das, and in our last episode, we dove deep into the world of expense categorization, and it was great. Today, we're talking about the next crucial step, which is creating a budget that actually works. We can go back to the final part of our CAP framework to finish this off, which is the planning phase. CAP stands for Collect, Assess, Plan, and it is something that I came up with for my own personal use. The aim was to help me be more structured in my approach to financial planning. So, I hope you find this as useful as I do. There are many ways to approach the problem of creating a budget that actually works. Some of the well known methods are the 50-30-20 budget, the zero based budget, the envelope system, the pay yourself first method, and the flexible budget. The 50-30-20 is very popular because I guess it's prescriptive, but my personal favorite is the flexible budget because it is a little bit of everything, and perhaps, as the name suggests, it is also more adaptive to circumstances. If you'd like me to do a video on the other budget methods, let me know. But our focus for today will be the flexible budget approach. So let's look at an example of a budget plan versus an actual expense chart. This is probably a good illustration of what many people may experience. As we can see, even with careful planning, our actual spending often differs from our budget. Notice here how categories like groceries and transportation have variations. Life happens, prices fluctuate, and unexpected expenses crop up. A good budget needs to account for these realities. This is where the flexible budget shines. Instead of setting strict limits that you'll feel guilty for breaking, we're going to create a framework that guides your spending while allowing for adjustments. Looking at our chart, we can see that some categories like housing remain consistent, while others like groceries and entertainment fluctuate. A flexible budget acknowledges these differences and gives you room to adapt. For example, if you spend less on utilities one month, you can reallocate that money to cover higher grocery costs or boost your savings. The key is to stay within your overall spending limit while allowing for individual categories to flex. So, here are some quick pointers to get you started on your flexible budget. Start with your total income. This is your spending limit. Allocate ranges to categories. While allocating the upper limits, ensure that the sum of all the categories never exceeds your total income. Decide on amounts that allow for enjoyment without derailing your financial goals. Always allocate money to savings. This is a non negotiable. It is the same concept as paying yourself first. If you want to create a flexible budget for yourself, my biggest piece of advice is to compare your spend against not just the budget alone, but also the last 6 to 12 months average spend, assuming that your circumstances haven't changed substantially during that period. If your average spend is continuously higher than your budget's upper limit, it's time to reassess. This is even more important than ever if it is having a negative impact on your savings. In this example, notice how savings fell short of the plan. This is a red flag. When this happens, it is again time to reassess. Can you cut back in some other areas so that your savings goal increases? Or do you need to adjust your savings target to something else which is more achievable? Our aspiration here is to create a realistic plan based on your actual spending patterns and not an idealized version of your finances. At this point, you may ask a natural question. The 50-30-20 is such a well known method. Why not just use that? Sure, you can. My personal belief is that the flexible approach works better in many cases, especially for those who are just getting started or are less experienced with financial planning. Either way, it's fine. If you'd like me to do a video comparison on the two methods, we can do that in a future episode. The key to successful budgeting is to finding a method that works for you and that you can stick to on a consistent basis, because whatever method you choose, what's more important is that you try to stick to it for at least 12 months, because implementing your budget is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, to wrap things up here, some tips and recaps. Number one, use budgeting apps or spreadsheets or even notebook to write down and document your spending. Number two, review your budget at least once a month to stay on track and make adjustments as needed. Number three, Be kind to yourself. Even if you overspend in one category, look for ways to cut in others without abandoning your budget entirely. Number 4, celebrate your wins, because no matter what, sticking to a budget is a skill that improves with practice. We need to remind ourselves that the goal isn't perfection, it's progress and awareness. Creating a budget that works isn't about restriction, it's about aligning your spending with your goals and aspirations. Start by creating your flexible budget this week, track your spending, make adjustments as needed, and remember, every step towards financial awareness is a step towards financial freedom. And if this video motivates you enough to actually end up creating a budget for yourself, leave a note in the comments. It will serve as an inspiration for me to continue making such content. In our next episode, we'll see how we can get better at setting goals that can help us stay on track. Until then, happy budgeting.